about. This month, October, we celebrate Pro-Life Month, and we're called to think about different areas of life that are being threatened in the modern age. Next week is also World Mission Sunday, and so next week we'll be looking at mission. But looking at the pro-life part, trying to say how do the scriptures fit pro-life? And actually they do very well in terms of saying this was a foreigner, but Jesus is pointing out this is somebody that the Jews would just assume disappear. Yeah. The Samaritans, any other enemy, anyone that's not Jew, they just assume they get out of the picture. And that's the attitude that so many have towards the other, whoever that other is, that we want to disappear, do away with. But today I want to look at somewhat abortion, because in January, again, I'll be going to D.C., and I know when we walk in, you got time to think. One of the things I'm sure I will be thinking about is 2020, the year 2020. Not that we have 2020 vision, but the year 2020, what does that call to mind? 1920. How did we ever get down this road? How did we ever start this road? What happened in 1920? It's what we call the Lambeth Conference. Every 10 years, Episcopalians have a conference called the Lambeth Conference. So in 1920, first time in history, it's a hallmark kind of event, if you will, because up to this point in history, all Christians, no matter where you live, no matter what, all Christians believe that abortion was an inherent evil. And all Christians believe that even birth control was an evil. You even have presidents who spoke against that evil, saying it will destroy a country, almost as if presidents were prophetic. But we have this event, now all of a sudden in 1920, with the Episcopal Conference, and they said, well, we think that there are some people who may have some legitimate reason to use artificial birth control, okay? That sounds, it's like some people, maybe, there's always an exception. So we look at that, and what happened? 1930. By that time, it got so widespread across the country that most Christians were seemingly accepted it, and Catholics were not much different in terms of the way in which they lived, their sexualized as married people. And by 1930, the Episcopal Conference was saying, well, this is a private matter. This is a matter for conscience. You don't need science to base your conscience on. Just whatever you feel like, basically, is what goes. And so that's where we're getting started. Okay, yeah, what's the big deal in a way? Because 1973, and that's why I'll be at that March for Life, 1973, Roe versus Wade. What happened? Basically, Justice Blackmun, whose daughter was wanting an abortion at that time. I'm sure that didn't influence him any. But we look at Justice Blackmun, who said, and I was taking the law course at the time in the Presbyterian College, and the professor came in the door that next day and threw these papers on the desk saying, I cannot believe that judges would go like this. They based a new law on what they call a penumbra of reason. In other words, there's no precedent. There is no legal grounds for doing this, but on penumbra. And what was the main reason in that penumbra? Well, people have been relying on their birth control up to this time, and they certainly have a right to say they've got an option if it fails. And it's going to fail. Yeah, it's going to fail. And so based on that, we have 1973, we have the approval of abortion in this country, and again we say, well, it's an exception. For rape, incest, and the life of the mother. They use the word mother, and that's great. And the life of the mother. But California passed a law to that effect, and guess what? The life of the mother. If you are psychologically prone to want to have a suicide because of this pregnancy, that's life-threatening. Nobody can prove that you're wrong. And so you go to the judge and say, hey, I'm going to kill myself if I don't get this abortion. So all you need is one person to get that, and everybody goes through the door and has approval. That's how it capitulates so quickly across our country. And so we look at this horrendous evil that exists in our midst, and even there, people in Missouri here, nice pro-life state, we're saying, hey, that's New York, that's California, they're crazy, they might set the tone, but that's about where it stops. It didn't stop there, did it? Yeah. And so we look at how this kind of evil was quickly ensconced into our culture. But again, we're looking at saying, hey, you know, people are smart. People love. Americans care. And they know this is life. We'll get the laws changed in the next 2 or 3 years, right? Did it happen? Now that we're looking at how many years later? 47 years, 48 years later, and we're saying it still hasn't happened. You can't help but think of another figure, if you will. We look at what happened just before this, and we think of Hitler killed 70 million people who were inconvenient to his plans. 70 million. But right now with abortion, we're up to 58 million plus. We have no idea how many beyond that. Yeah, at least 58 million. And we're saying, well, are we going to hit 70 million? Are we really better than Hitler? No, we're not. We use the same things to achieve in the end, to say some lives are not important, some lives do not matter. Well, how did the Lambeth Conference ever come to that to begin with, except to look and say, gee, not only is it a right to use birth control, but you know what? There are some people that maybe, if they shouldn't exist, inconvenient, at least should not propagate themselves, right? So you have people like Margaret Sanger, who helped found NARAL, the predecessor of Planned Parenthood, and they gave her awards for that. Yeah. A woman who said blacks should not exist, nor should they propagate. They know they're targeted just by looking at where Planned Parenthood is locating their services. So they know that there is some sort of agenda that says some people are less than worthy of life. Now, does it stop there? No, it never stops there. It never stops. What's the next move? Well, there are those who are born already. Those who already exist are visible. What about them? Well, if they were not desired, you can let them die on the pan in the abortion clinic. If they are handicapped and they're already born, and you want to have thoughts about it later, well, now we can go on and terminate their lives through euthanasia. That's the next move. This past year, Canada euthanized 2,500 plus people. 2,500 people. And is it just people who say, hey, I don't want to live any longer, I'm dying, I'm suffering? No. Children even. The courts have a right to decide this child should not receive any more medical care. Therefore, it should be euthanized. See? It doesn't stop. It does not stop. So we're looking at other cultures. We think about Hitler. We think about Russia. We think about other countries that killed in mass. We're there. We're there. We're no different. But we need to be different. We need to be different. You and I are called in the following of Christ to do what? To realize that Christ reached out, particularly to the one who was the foreigner, particularly to the ones who were ignored by the Jews. And if you notice what happened there, you had to pay attention. That he told him to go to the priest, right? Why? Because leprosy keeps you from offering true worship. It keeps you out of the worshiping community. And so he said, go to the priest. Well, those guys need to come back because they were readmitted to the worship in the temple. Guess what the foreigner found? He came back and fell on his knees before Jesus. He came to worship the true God in person. Yeah. So he's the only one that got that privilege out of that. So Jesus restores. He desires all people to come to him. But if you and I who claim to be Christian, do not care and continue to want to put people aside and say, I wish they would go away, I wish they would disappear, then we're not with Christ. You and I need, as pro-life, as Christians, to look and say, what can I do? How can I make a difference? Because each one of us has the capacity, the ability to make a difference in our culture. Today, let us pray that we have the wisdom and the grace to respond to what is going on in our culture and say, let's make a difference. You saw what happened in East St. Louis this week, right? One of the biggest abortion clinics in the United States just opened its doors. I was like, wow, a mega clinic. It's right here. And it will not stop until you and I get more active in what we do in our response. I thought it would disappear in 2 or 3 years. It is not. I pray, though, it disappears before we hit that 70 million mark as a